Welcome to the Root and the Wound podcast, where we look beneath the surface so we can really understand what is driving our patterns.
On today's deep dive, we're going to look at the topic of unbridled authenticity.
Exactly, which we will define for you in just a few moments. My name, though, it's Trevor Brown. I am a therapist. I specialize in helping individuals and couples.
And my name is Paula, and I am a grief and trauma therapist. I work with individuals and couples as well.
And Paula, we've known each other for some time.
Yes, we have.
We've talked about doing some version of this for the better part of 5 years. We met in grad school in 2018. And yeah, collaborating in this way has been a dream of ours for quite a while.
Yeah, and our passion has always been to do exactly this, deep dive into topics without necessarily a set direction, but to learn from one another about how we can pull apart these topics that we all relate to from a personal and collective experience and get to the root of things and understand things a little deeper. So in part, this is selfish for us because we love this and it serves others, right? So here we are.
Exactly. It's what we already do. And now we're doing it for any interested listener or viewer out there. So as you said, today we're talking about unbridled self-expression, unbridled authenticity. What is unbridled self-expression? Well, the way that I think of it, it happens in relationship. It's when, in the interest of trying to be really honest with my partner or with my friend, I end up just sharing every single thing that's inside of me. It just comes pouring out of me because I want to be honest. I want to be authentic. I want you to really know me, so I don't hold back. There's a couples therapist, Terry Real. He calls it the barf bag approach to intimacy, where we just share anything and everything with the other person.
Mm-hmm. And you made a really good point on that, like the desire to be honest. And I think that this is where my interest in diving into this topic comes from, because I personally really value the value of transparency, not even just honesty, which I think like transparency is like volunteering information that isn't even being asked for. And so I believe you mentioned, right, and maybe we need to catch the listeners up on this. You mentioned that unbridled authenticity, although it stems from the intention of honesty and connection, can actually hinder connection. So I'd like you to talk a little bit about that, but why it's a sticky point for me when I have a value of transparency and wanting to dive deep into how those two clash.
The clash between transparency and connection.
Yes.
Yeah, totally. I think this is why this is such an edge for so many people. It's because we want to be, I think that's a great word, transparent, authentic, honest in our relationships, such that in our minds, so that our partner can really know us and we can know them. And we think of that as the pathway to deeper intimacy and the pathway to deeper connection, which really makes sense. But yes, there is these two values. They can at times be at odds with one another, so that our pursuit of transparency, of honesty, can get in the way of the connection that we want. Maybe to just give an example, when I work with couples and I'm just watching each partner there, and I'm watching one person really strive to share everything inside of them, and I'm in a way where they're not taking their partner into consideration. I'm watching the partner and I'm just seeing their eyes glaze over. I'm seeing them back away. I'm seeing them get overwhelmed. I'm seeing them inevitably get defensive, attack back if they've perceived an attack. And so it gets in the way of the connection that they'd like to have. Am I speaking to what you were asking, or more around it?
I think I'd love to dive into, because I believe everything is in the gray, right? Like that we exist the best in the gray matter of where it's not black and white, where it's not like restrain unbridled authenticity or do it like a barf bag, right? Like that actually intimacy probably exists somewhere in the middle of those two places. And what you just described, I experience as well in sessions, right? With couples where one is kind of doing that throw up of every thought, every belief, everything they've ever wanted to
Hmm.
put out, especially in the company of a therapist where it feels like we are the barf bag holding it. And
Hmm.
there's a safety of we can say all these thoughts we've been feeling, and the other person is having those reactions or numbing out or disassociating. It's too much. Um, and it's interesting because I think that, or perhaps I want to ask you, like, do you think that it's more a matter of timing when unbridled authenticity serves intimacy or hurts intimacy? And what I mean by timing is in a triggered state, receiving a lot of information, no matter how true, transparent it is overwhelming to a nervous system.
Hmm.
In a state where we are setting the table for almost like what we're doing here, where it's like, I'd like to bounce all these thoughts off of you,
Hmm.
right? And how
Hmm.
that can lead to getting to know each other deeper
Hmm.
and better and in a way that feels safe. Do you
Yeah.
have thoughts on that?
Totally. Yeah, I think it's a great point. So I think it's probably two things. I mean, one of them, timing, yes, so that when I share some vulnerability that may even be difficult for you to hear or just difficult for me to share, if we're in a non-triggered state to begin with, the odds of us being successful go up astronomically. And then the way that I choose to share my vulnerability is still going to be important.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that there's the how and there's the when,
Mm-hmm.
and both of these come together in a way that can ultimately what we want is we want to bring, it's like I kind of think of it like rigid authenticity, which what is what we're talking about, versus relational authenticity or skillful authenticity, because we hold both the values:
Mm-hmm.
authentic, transparent, and connected and intimate. And of course, there's a way for those not just to coexist, but to really build off of one another.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's something like when I'm choosing to share something difficult with you, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
aware of the fact that I'm sharing this because I care about our relationship, and
Mm-hmm.
therefore I care about its impact on you. I'm gonna shift some of the words I use. I'm just gonna bring some intentionality to my communication, and I'm gonna pay attention to how it's landing for you because I want to be heard by you. I don't want to just trigger you.
Mm-hmm. And you're kind of speaking, I'm going to throw two words here that get overused, I think, in our modern pop psych world, but like, I think this inherent duality within us all of self-abandonment and narcissism, right? Of like how sometimes when we make it all about ourselves and
Hmm.
or self-abandon too much and
Ah,
don't
I see.
our cross, right? And you're speaking about the beautiful integration of those two very inherent parts in all of us of like, we want to get this message out and we are willing to adapt that message
Hmm.
enough for the consideration of the impact on the other person, right?
Yeah.
And that sweet spot in the middle of self and other and interdependence and interconnection rather than just, oh, let me give you everything that I need to tell you. And like, even though the intention is connection, we are hurting
Hmm.
the other person.
Yes, and then you also aren't getting the connection that you want, that person in that moment,
Yeah.
who's expressing that way. So then they lose their partner, as it
Mhm.
were, in that moment. They lose the connection. So
Sure.
it is in a way selfishly motivated, in addition to being other motivated.
Yeah.
Another coming together, maybe.
Yeah, and I think that that's the hardest part when I witness that in others, where, especially with clients, where I'm trying to get them to frame also like some consideration of why did we share that piece, and they're like, well, I
Yeah.
want to be honest, I want to be transparent, and I don't know if you witness this as well. If we're going to bring in attachment theory, the more anxiously attached partners tend to have that
Hmm.
uh, throw up nature way more than
Hmm.
the avoidant partner.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I can speak personally as someone who's dated like avoidant or anxious, that like I appreciate unbridled authenticity
Hmm.
some areas, right? And actually, it's easier for me to have information than not have information. But I'm
Totally.
also someone who's done a lot of work to be able to take in uncomfortable material and sit with it, sit with the discomfort and stay present with it, which I think that that's a piece too, that like to receive unbridled authenticity, we have to have a level of self-regulation that is able to anchor with polarity in material we're receiving, because often that unbridled authenticity isn't just one direction. It's like feeling this and that and this and that. It's very complex, right? So we have to
Hmm.
be able to hold that tension really well to
Yeah,
even receive.
right. It's a big ask on the part of the receiver, but you're
Yeah.
saying sometimes it can be appreciated too
Yeah, I'm
on the
speaking
receiver.
to
Hmm.
the example that I was saying to you that I had is like probably one of my favorite connections I've ever been able to experience romantically, did stem with a lot of unbridled authenticity, where this individual was able to share almost like stream of consciousness
Hmm.
of what was happening within them. But I
Hmm.
think there is this vital thing that is kind of what you are speaking to, which is he himself had a lot of self regulation and self awareness while sharing this stream of consciousness.
Okay.
And
Hmm.
I myself have a lot of self regulation and self awareness to be able to receive it. And so, in
Hmm.
that dynamic, it led to deep intimacy where we could say hard truths to one another.
Hmm.
And it didn't alter connection, it actually strengthened it and created this friendship bond that was very authentic, and
Yeah.
felt like, anytime I wanted to share a topic, I never felt like I had to prepare on how it was going to be received. And I would say that
Mm.
that example was an epitome of something that's very rare to be able to find. Whereas my experience on most other relational levels, I have to do that piece that you're speaking to, where I am very transparent, but I have to consider the timing of delivery when I'm going
Hmm.
to share this topic, how, and knowing also the receiver and their capacity.
Right. Right. But there was something about this one where it sounds like, because each of you were aware of your internal experience, like you said that even when he was expressing himself in this authentic way, that he had some important degree of self-awareness as he
Yeah,
was doing so.
yeah,
So it wasn't totally barf bag unconscious stream, even though
yes,
you did say stream of consciousness, but there was still apparently something there that made it not just totally out of his hands and like compulsive, like there was
yeah.
something he was doing.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the barf bag that you're speaking to,
Hmm.
maybe where we're getting to the root of unbridled authenticity as like this general topic, there
Hmm.
is the subconscious version of it, right? The one that's like automated, we don't even know. It's like it's an involuntary response. Even think of barfing, it's
Yes.
involuntary,
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
right?
Right.
Versus, I think, a really beautiful authenticity, transparency approach to relationship comes with consciousness. We are choosing to extract this information
Yeah.
that is important for our partners, right? It's like
Yeah.
a hand going into the conscious bag and presenting. It's like a presentation versus a throw up.
I love the imagery.
Sorry, very
No,
violent.
I do. I do love the imagery. Seriously, like putting your hand into a bag and deliberately picking and choosing what it is that you will share, and then bringing it out and presenting it, because it's an important authentic piece of me that I'm
Yeah.
choosing to share with somebody I care about, but I am going into the bag.
Mm-hmm.
The bag isn't just ripping apart at the seams and then exploding over the other person. And
Yeah.
so that's what makes, in my mind, unbridled self expression skillful, or bridled, boundaried, relational, effective
Yeah.
self
Or
expression.
conscious
Conscious.
authenticity. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Conscious authenticity. There we go. That's
Yeah.
the one.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think at the root, right? Like, I think why we see so many clients do that throw up is because, I'm in the school of thought that nothing is bad per se, right? Like, I move beyond good and evil when it comes to like this behavior. It's like functional, not functional, but like the core of that desire to throw everything up is the seeking to understand, seeking to relate, seeking to connect, right? Like, I think,
Seeking to be understood, probably,
yeah,
right?
both
Mm-hmm.
understand
Mm-hmm.
self and the
I
other
see.
person
I
understand them.
see. I see. Got you. Yeah.
Because I could take away the couple, and when
Mm-hmm.
it's individuals, I think
Mm-hmm.
we as therapists often receive barf information as well, right? Like, at least when a client feels safe enough, they're just like, blah, and everything comes out and it's messy. And it's part of our honor to be able to sit in that muck with them and help organize these things that they don't even
Mm-hmm.
understand, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
when I myself have been imperfect in relationships and have thrown up a lot of information on my partner, the desire isn't purely selfish to get things out, but it's to get things out for them to make sense in the scheme of our relational dynamic, right? It's to see how these things that I'm living inside self exist with others as well. Not,
Yes.
I've done many non-skillful approaches to that,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and many skillful, right? And the
Totally.
difference is the amount of self-awareness that we ourselves have of that content.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Would you agree?
The amount of self-awareness we have is what makes it more potentially skillful versus more potentially unskillful. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
functional, like where
Totally.
unbridled authenticity becomes a functional tool rather than dysfunctional.
Right. Right. Totally. Yes. Where moves from, yeah, the land of dysfunction into, as you said, conscious authenticity and
Hmm.
therefore functional.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Because also, our relational world today, like, I would also, this is maybe radical, but like, argue that we need more of things coming out to the surface,
Mm-hmm.
than just keeping repressed, right? Like, that at
Mm.
least when it's not repressed, we could work with it.
Totally.
That there
Totally.
is at least a path forward from that throw up. Like, as long as it's out, then we could start clearing the system of things.
I see what you mean. Yeah, better have it out on the surface where it can be looked at than have it hidden away where nobody knows exactly what's going on. And it's as though you referred to the attachment system earlier. Um, yeah, it's like you have one group of people, let's say, who are more likely to self emote, more likely to slide into unbridled self expression. And then you have this other extreme of people who are more likely to withhold, to hold back and to hold in. And it's almost as though from them, we need more unbridled self expression. Really,
Mm-hmm.
we need more self expression, but I'm more that group of people. And so
The avoidant.
the yeah, I tend to hold back, withdraw, keep my thoughts and feelings to myself for fear that if I were to really share them, bad things would happen effectively in my interpersonal relationships. And so getting over the hurdle to self-express can be, I mean, it is challenging.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then as I learn the art of self-expression, I inevitably make mistakes and I say things that are actually hurtful. I do unbridledly self-express. But to your point, given my nature, it's better more often that I do that than that I don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Because in doing it, now it's there and we can look at it. And in doing it, I'm starting to develop a new skill.
Mm-hmm.
So I go from this side of the pendulum from never expressing to this side, which is over expressing. But then I can actually find some
The
gradation
middle.
in there.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. To more consciously express such that both of us benefit from it in real time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love it. I would say that it's
Mm-hmm.
interesting hearing that you skew on that
Mm-hmm.
side, and even thinking about our friendship, like I skew, and also let's bring in cultural differences,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? Like I am Latina. It is a culture of unbridled authenticity, I would
Mm-hmm.
say, as a
Mm-hmm.
whole. We are not a culture that is taught to repress much, right? Whether
Yeah,
it is from how we dress to how we express, like it is an ultra expressive culture with a shadow to that, and also a beauty, right? Like Brazilians are known
totally.
for warmth and
Totally.
connection,
Mm-hmm.
and so
Yep.
that volatility, though, right? Like it's led, like family systems in Latin American culture are known to be really heated and passionate and big fights and big escalations and then big intimacy. And
Yeah.
that's very aligned with what happens with unbridled authenticity, right? That it's
Mm-hmm.
a it's messy.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I've had to also learn, being raised, cross culturally, being raised, like living a lot of my life in the United States, where I would say it's a more like yourself, right? Like withholding culture, more
Mm-hmm.
polite facing. Things are brewing under the surface, but there's not that. And that's stereotypical. I should also preface that, right? Not every person, but um, I've had to learn the beautiful in between, right?
Totally.
And that's where I think that we are getting to the root of authenticity is
Mm-hmm.
foundational for relationship, but
Mm-hmm.
authenticity gets misinterpreted as say everything that's on your mind without hesitation.
Yes. Exactly. Exactly.
And
That's
that's
it.
what we're getting to, that's
That's what
not
we're getting to.
necessarily what authenticity
Totally.
is.
Totally. Yeah. And yeah, just the example, the cultural differences that you pointed out certainly resonate with me. Yeah, I definitely come from a subsection of the culture, my family, my upbringing, where our MO is to withhold, and we don't really know what's on each other's minds. And we could really use some more self-expression to even if it does get unbridled,
Mhm.
because that's sort of where our healing needs to happen, as we were pointing out earlier. Then
Mhm.
maybe we can find that middle ground. um
and and our healing is in withholding.
right, right, exactly, so that then we can all be consciously
Kind of
authentic, and a
right here.
win-win. Exactly. A way where everybody wins.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
actually, in
Cool.
reflection of that one relationship that to me was my favorite relational dynamic, I think that's
Hmm.
exactly it. This was a person who usually withholds and does not share
Yeah.
anything.
Hmm.
And I inspired them to
Hmm.
share
Awesome.
more, and they inspired me to share less, right?
Mm.
Like in a
Hmm.
way, in that dynamic, I was way more bridled with my
Yes.
expressions, and it wasn't dishonest. It was actually more honest, because what it allowed me to do was understand the difference between my reactive self. Like my
Hmm.
reactive self has a lot of things I want to share, and then
Yep,
my
yep,
true
yep.
self that had just some core truths that mattered, and that's where the true authentic self came in from.
That's great. Uh, I'm just jotting that down because I really like that the reactive self versus true self in this particular context, and how
Yeah.
you were able to decipher that because of
Hmm.
that dynamic. Um, well, I think we should probably start wrapping up.
Yeah.
Um,
Sum it up for us, Trevor.
yeah, I think this was a really nice conversation because it gave, excuse me. I think this was a really nice conversation because it gave equal credence to both sides of that. Whereas I was coming in more erring on the side of not withholding but deliberately expressing.
Hmm.
Um, but you've brought in an important piece here, which is how like withholding and deliberately expressing might be more like congruent with my history, because I'm more of this style to withhold, and how helpful it can be to express, even if it is messy. It's not always the wrong thing to do. At the
Mhm.
same time, we're trying to get more skillful, but in order to get more skillful, we might just have to tolerate some barf bag intimacy
Mhm.
temporarily. And I hadn't
Yeah,
considered that.
and you just said the word deliberate, and I think why I felt important to not challenge, but to express this other side of when I
Hmm.
heard you speak of unbridled authenticity as a hindrance to intimacy, is that like when we overthink things, sometimes it hinders intimacy as well, right? Where we are like, how do I
Yeah.
say this? When do I say it? How is it going to be received? Like that,
Hmm.
I would call that self-consciousness rather than consciousness, right? We become self-conscious about how we're going to
Hmm.
deliver this
Hmm.
truth and what's going to happen, and I would argue that that also is selfish, right? Like we're afraid of the conflict, we're afraid of the discomfort. Just like on the other side of the pendulum, not to consider it at
Yeah.
all
Right.
is
Hmm.
selfish, right?
Hmm.
And that the place where interdependence is in consciousness. So I would say it's less about how, when, what content we share, but more about our relationship to that content first. All right,
Hmm.
like our own
Totally. Yeah.
conscious
Exactly.
relationship first, and then we can trust that that thing is coming, kind of like, to be cheesy, like when we speak from the heart
Hmm.
rather than speaking from our trauma, speaking from our reactivity,
Exactly.
speaking from whatever is happening in the moment that's fleeting. So,
Awesome. Well said. I wonder if there's like one like takeaway that people could, I'm sure people have all sorts of takeaways from this, but if there were to be a certain orientation or intention or practice that they might bring into their relationships from this conversation, um I'm wondering what that might be. Does anything jump out for you?
um, more of like a tool just jumped out at
Hmm.
me, like, um, for a person like myself that skews on the oversharing side,
Hmm.
that a good tool I've used is to consider when I have things to share, doing like my notes app is where I let my barf bag exist
I
first,
see. Yeah. Yeah.
and then allowing that truth to settle for me to really see what's at the core of that message rather than all those details that came out. So for a person like me that has a lot to come out,
Hmm. Hmm.
finding a place to put that first before we put it on our relationships, our friendships, our families. And for a person like yourself, withholding, it's
Hmm.
also, I would say, the same tool
It
of
is.
journaling can help, of
It
like
can be. Hmm.
practice getting it out in a neutral
Hmm.
space first. And then when you read it, realizing that that's very connective and that it is a tool that like it's worth sharing, right? It's selfish not to
Totally.
share.
Totally. Totally.
And that's,
Awesome.
yeah.
I think those are great. Yeah. 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 I
Well,
certainly resonate with them.
I think we got to the root.
We're at the root. All right. Well,
Feels
that
good.
was a lot of fun. That was great
Yeah.
to do.
High five.
Everybody, thank you for listening. Boom. Awesome.
All righty.
And see you guys next week.
See you next week.